Hello and welcome to end of October. What's even the day today? The 23rd.
23rd.
October 23rd, the yellow self-existing star day in the galactic calendar. Edition of Earth Nouveau. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
And hi. And so we were just all, this is a no plan today. We haven't made any plans to talk about anything specific, but I'll just share what I was sharing earlier is that today, when I woke up, I had a song in my head about a star. You don't have to be a star, baby, to be in my show. And today is the self-existing star in the galactic calendar. And so, that energy of the star, right, connects us to the cosmos, all of the stars in our galaxy and in our planetary awareness. Um, Talking about the comet. I don't know if any of you have been able to see it. I haven't. Did you
Pictures
have,
only.
Jen? I'm hearing a yes nod with Jen. Did you have any kind of mystical experience looking at that, or was there anything that came through for you? Any messaging?
Not so much with the comet, but I've had a lot with the moon and with the shooting stars, um, looking in the eastern sky. So, yes, with the cosmos, but not so much with the comet.
Mhm.
Other than it
Yeah.
just felt out of place. The comet felt
Mm.
really out of place.
So what's the story with the comet? I haven't heard any. What comet is that? Do we have a story about it? Why do we see it? Or, it's not that comet Matthias is talking about in 29 that has the capacity to take us out as a species. You heard of that
I
one?
don't, yeah, I don't think
Oh,
it's
you haven't.
that.
No. Good.
Is it the Atlas comet?
I think so.
The
Yeah.
one right now.
So Atlas, the Atlas comet. That's interesting because isn't Atlas the mythical being that holds the earth up on his shoulders? And today we have that number 4 day, which is about the four corners of stabilization. So I don't know. For me, I've been just like staying in my own lane. I haven't been really called or guided to like listen to a lot of different YouTubes. I mean, music, always music, but um, I haven't been guided to go out of my lane and my, direct experience, so I'm sort of like hermiting a little bit energetically, which feels good. It's sort of time to, I don't know, get a lot of stuff done. Feels like a lot of stuff done around the house, little projects and, all kinds of fall cleaning, uh, bringing in, so I can bring in new energy, into the space.
I like what you just said because I also feel like focusing on my own experiences, you know, but then I somehow think, oh, should I be just sitting down and do more meditation or anything? But then I've got too much distraction going on at the moment, and then I keep getting drawn into listening to Hussein and Isa, and things like that. But it's all becoming the new combined physics and science and spirituality, all of that together, and the talk about, the black holes, because everything is happening so fast now, isn't it? The changes in perception are happening so fast.
Mhm. Mhm. I was last week when I had to drop off to get on a call, I took a training to be a light wave facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
And the light wave is basically an energy healing technique that's channeled from this guy, Brian DeFlores, who did the He lives in Vegas, and he was the one who did all of that, the downloading of the galactic beings in the different casinos. So that was fun. But he's offered this facilitator course for the first time. So I took it, and just like being aware, now I've lost my train of thought. Being aware of these higher frequency energies coming through and allowing that, right? Opening a space in in your home, in your body for these higher frequency energies to come through. But one of the things that he was saying on that call last week is that it's really time to sort of just stay in your own lane and not get too jiggy with it, right, energetically right now, because there's a lot of, between now and the end of the year, there's a lot of sort of energy cross trafficking of spirits who are moving. And I think by the winter solstice, sort of like that falling timeline is going to be farther away from the higher frequency timeline. So it'll be easier after the winter solstice, after the first of the year, to sort of connect with that higher frequency energy, because we've been getting a lot of interference right now. And so he said, don't make any big decisions, don't make any big financial purchases, because the energy is still really sort of shaking loose. We've talked a lot of that, like wheat separating from the chaff energy. And I see that happening, it's just sort of more and more.
So I usually live the hermit life, right? I don't normally listen to podcasts or do a lot outside of myself. This week being on vacation, just chilling at the beach house with the dog, all I have is time. And so I've tried to listen to a few podcasts. I did listen to the one that you posted in the group chat about plasma, Martina, and that was interesting. I tried to listen to a show yesterday, but I hadn't listened to those people in a long time, and I don't know, I tuned in for maybe 15 minutes and it was still not my thing anymore. So I tuned back out. But I've tried more to be external, but it just doesn't, I don't know, it's not my thing. But I'm going to go back home a day early because I'm more excited to create space in my home. Where I moved out of my old office where I had my painting studio. Now I need to create my painting studio in my detached garage, and I got it prepped before I left, but it's sitting there waiting for me to get back. And so I feel that energy of creating my space in my own lane for what's coming with me. And I have seen some of that interference because since I haven't let work distract me on this trip. I've gone and explored, but for the most part, I really just stayed connected with the ocean and the land. And so my connections just stayed really wide open. And can see some of that cross trafficking and even like some tricksters at play too, because I don't know, some people have come up to be looked at and they're not who they say they are. So I just kind of push them away. So I'm sure some of that, like the veil always gets thin around Halloween, right? That's just kind of the running theme, but it is a little bit different this year than other years.
Yeah, for me, usually I'm all gung-ho with Halloween, but it hasn't really been resonating with me.
Jane, I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because you've done so much work, so you created so much change within your life that basically just really has thrown you on a different timeline. So, the old ways are disappearing more and more and more. And I like what you said, that you almost feel like you have to go back. I think it's the universe just basically prompting us into action. I've been listening to Bashar of late, and I never used to listen to him, but I just love his matter of fact, the way he says always, I'm telling you how it is, how we see it. It's not a philosophy. And that action is very much what he ponders about all the time. It's almost like, you know, the opposite of depression is expression, it's creation. And, you know, for me personally, I did a lot of creation in my head all the time because I'm so fast with everything, but then nothing really got literally created, because as soon as I created a workshop, within half an hour in my head, I never really pushed it out because I was already bored again, you know, having done it in my head. And that seems to have now stopped. I don't do that kind of creation anymore. And I think what has helped me is to step into my feminine side with the paintings, because I literally now allow myself to just physically work with the paint. That is the action. And I think that's a newfound appreciation, or maybe a more reiteration of the importance of the beauty and the magic and the potency of our bodies. And that's really why we're here. We are here because of 3D, not because we want to leave 3D, you know. And a lot of that, I think, is coming in, you know, more and more, that realization that, you know, even by understanding, you know, the billions of timelines that we are continuously switching between and everything, you know, at the end of the day, there's always the expression of, I am here, you know, I am here. And this, I think, is why it has been so important to fortify our I am in all the self-mastery work. Because the more we are now, you know, working with the black holes, right, and starting to understand the infinite possibilities that that brings, we always have to take ourselves back, you know, into, okay, this is me, and then work. So it's like 0 point energy coming back into, you know, gravitation, and letting go and coming in and letting go and coming in, and that play, that dance of expansion and contraction, I think is we're becoming more aware of that, you know. And it's really fun to, you know, not wanting to get out of duality, because I mean that is what creation is, but playing with the duality with the unlimited point of view.
So much of what I've been, I mean, even in the eclipse that I went to Kentucky to see in April, and in the mushroom journey, the message consistently is just enjoy being human, just enjoy being in the body. And like you said, people focus a lot on getting out of the 3D, but to me, the fun is finding joy in the 3D, right? And once you get a sense of contentment of being in the 3D, more and more ways to use the 3D open up.
Yeah, it's the understanding that, you know, 3D is a physical expression of all the dimensions, because we are playing with them, with all of them simultaneously, right? And that's the other thing, is I'm having more of an understanding, but also I think more of a feeling maybe, or appreciation, that the past, the present, the future is happening at the same time. And like Bashar says, it's like the difference between even our reincarnations is just a different point of view, because we are one. So it's more like we can now start appreciating, or, you know, I can more appreciate the oneness principle, at least, let's say, my soul shard collection, right? Because I know I am everything. I am my ancestors, and I am my future me. And just by changing a point of view, a habit, or a conclusion, I'm changing into all these different beings. So I am all of this at the same time, continuously, simultaneously. And for me, that is fun, you know, to bring it all together. It's like you're pulling all those, I think, who said it? I just listened to Matthias, and he says, you know, the ego is there to work all the gravitational pieces. So it's, we are portal, we are black hole within, like what we said last time, which we didn't get the recording of, but that was my fault. But you know, and that interplay of that multidimensionality, that contrast, that harmony at the same time. I mean, yeah, like Jane said, that there's not, we don't really have to go out and do anything outside because there's so much happening within ourselves, right? At the moment.
Today, from the teacher that the instructor that I did the breath work, Michael Beaker. So he's still putting out, you know, little videos on Instagram, and he always keeps it very, very simple. And he says, he starts talking, he says, nowhere, nowhere, nowhere. And then he says, now, here. Because nowhere is now here. And he says, that's where you are. You are now here. You're not nowhere. You're now here within your body. Because he always brings it back to the body, to the body. So it's when I heard this morning, I'm like, oh gosh, yes, so right, you know, it's not nowhere. No, it's now here. You're here. It's okay. It's all good. And yes, we're here to experience all this. So let's just really enjoy this and not wanting to go any place, you know. I mean, here, yes, experience as much and as much as you can. But I mean, outside, somewhere out there, whatever, you know, it will come when it will come.
But that's the oxymoronity of this whole thing, really, because there is not even a here. There is no space as such. There is no here, no there. And this is hitting me a little bit as well, you know, with some more like level of awareness that everything is literally a simulation and a projection. And there's no point for us, because I'm always like, okay, let's wait until reality changes. Reality is not changing, like Bashar says. Stop waiting for reality to change.
No, you have to change it, you know,
of who you are, you know.
Yeah, we make it change.
Yeah, we make a change on every level, depending on the level of our awareness, right?
I just read an intro into a book of little short stories, and it is a quote by Boris Vian, which is a French writer, and he says, "I just made up this I just made up this little story for you, madame, and I hope you will enjoy it, because for me, it is now alive and it's real." You see, so I'm like, yes, exactly.
Hi, Lana. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks. Sorry I'm late, but I'm here.
Just in time.
Hello.
Just in time,
good.
exactly.
Tanya, I was wondering about myself right now. This is Herminia. Sorry, I can open my camera. I was wondering because I have been feeling lately that nothing makes sense. Maybe I'm in this loop that's whatever I can do is like, what the point to do it? It's like this sometimes like a self-defeating feeling. Because it's so much thing that we have to do and we never end, and ending this life continue to the other one, and you know, wherever we going, we don't know where we're going. And so many people coming with so much knowledge now, and sometimes say who to follow because so much information, and in the end we have to do it our own thing ourselves. And it's like a battlefield all time. And you know, I have feeling lately like what the point to even to do anything sometime, and then at the same time knowing that I have to keep doing it, you know. It's like the challenge, really to keep going. And at the same time, I know I cannot just stay like still. That I had to move forward, and I had to do the efforts to convince myself and motivate myself to keep going. And I was wondering because when you did the introduction, talking that this energy can affecting us many, I can think maybe in so many levels that we cannot comprehend, or I cannot comprehend myself. But that's it having my lately challenge lately because it's like oh you trying like going 5 step up, and then you say what I going to the right to the left from back. Where I am right now, what I should be doing right now is, and it's so much confusion everywhere. It's like, and so much information at the same time. It's like really what to do.
I just heard you say what I should be doing.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
just wanted to call that out. I mean, from my perspective, we're releasing so much collectively, planetarily in the solar system. There's a lot of energy that's shifting and releasing right now. And one of the biggest shifts I've found for myself is releasing energy that's not mine, whether it be from the ancestral lineage or whether it be from a work environment or a client or an ex-lover. I feel like once you really get down to that, when you are able to let go of everyone else's perceptions about what you should be doing, then you get into this really juicy heart of what you want to be doing, what you want to be creating. And for life, there's always the regular maintenance, right? You've got to do your house cleaning and you've got to eat, you've got to do your dishes, to have your house, clean and your space resonating in a frequency that you want it to resonate in. But I wonder, Herminia, how much energy you're using that's not really the right way to say it. I wonder how much of other people's should you're running on programming of, instead of really your own want, your own desires, your own um, trajectory and pathway. Because as in the healing work I do, I find that as an energetic structure that's attached to the third eye and then loops around the energy field almost like a jump rope of all of that programming, what it means to be a human in this world, what it means to be someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's
Yeah.
partner, all of these things that you've been taught, or we all have,
Yeah. It's
contextually.
so many multitask personality that we had to play, right?
Yeah. And I would just suggest asking yourself the question when you're doing something that just feels like you're walking through molasses, ask yourself who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for you? Are you doing it for someone else? Are you doing it because you think you have to? Just kind of throwing that out there. Seems like there's a lot of energetic programming being released, from all of our chakras, especially that area in the lower sacral in the Dantian, that area between the sacral and the root chakra. There's almost like a programming band that runs through that space in the body that keeps us like holding tight to energy and situations that really we don't need to hold tight to.
Yeah, that's the feeling.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that old chestnut.
I noticed my thought pattern changing the other day. I'm about to sneeze, but a lot of people will think, why is this happening to me, right? And we teach ourselves to flip that question around to what is this trying to teach me? But it was something in how Roscoe looked at me the other day. I looked down at him and I thought, I wonder why I chose you for my hologram. And I noticed that question coming up, like interacting with different people. Why did I bring you into my hologram? Because the people that we interact with, the experiences that we have, we choose those. We put those in our hologram for whatever we're trying to teach us. Not things are not happening to us. We're choosing these to put before us. And so like I just found it interesting that that's how my mind worked, that it wasn't something that somebody told me to look at. It was just a thought that passed by. Well, I wonder why I pulled you into my hologram. And it made me pause for a minute. But to me, anything that puts the power back with me, to remember that I'm in control of where this is going, is very empowering to me, because I like to be able to enact change. If I don't like something, to know that I can change it at any time. And so something about Herminia's share there made me think of that like it was really interesting how I started going back to the way the question was posed was, why did I choose this? And what do I do with it? What do I want to do with it?
Thank you.
And
What
that's
else?
mastery, and that's alchemy right there. Choosing.
Yeah, choose and resonance as well. Remember that, you know, everything outside of ourselves is a reflection. And if we are resonating with something, then that's what we draw into our environment. Doesn't necessarily mean that we have to interact with it. But I think, you know, what I would say to this, Herminia, is what if you didn't have to do anything? This is when I go into a funk like this, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. And what I'm actually saying to myself is that I have an innate trust that whatever needs to happen, whatever I need, rather than what I want, as Bashar so beautifully says, will come to me. And all I need to do is stay out of conclusions, stay out of making it a valid point of view, you know, or anything like that. And I just look at it as an observer. And then whichever tiniest little bit of joy that comes, that, you know, transpires from that, that you follow the joy. You know, some people say follow the passion. If the passion is not ignited, don't worry about it. Follow the joy. And it doesn't matter. It could be just having a cup of coffee in the morning, you know, with a little bit of sugar or caramel or whatever you want, you know, and just make that. Bring yourself back into that resonance of joy, and that will then change what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever doesn't match that joy, don't interact with it. Be brutal. Let it go. Like Tanya said, like Jane says, it's a lot of clearing going on. And it's the space that holds us like that. So we always look at, oh, there's something wrong with us. But what if it's not us? What if it's that environment? And this is not taking responsibility for any, you know, for anything, but look what's going on at the moment in the environment. It doesn't matter which country you live in. It's all going crazy. That collective consciousness is like a prickly pear around us, like this. It takes a lot of work to stay focused on the inside. But also, there's a learning in this. It's like if we start realizing that we are infinite at the same time, because we've got everything, we are the micro universe within ourselves. It's like just expand out. or expand within and create that space. As you know, we talked about Atlas, right? Shoulders. Who is standing on your shoulders or on your back? Who are you continuously backing up? Or who is looking up to you? Or who is looking down on you? All these little, these are interesting, you know, explorations. If you look at space and who is encroaching your space and who are you allowing to encroach that space, take the joy away.
I think Herminia joined a little bit after Tanya was saying this too, but when we started out, Tanya was talking about kind of feeling like she was in hermit mode and staying in her lane, which I think we've all felt some of that lately too, and that's come up in sessions for me where I've been working on other people the last couple of weeks, is this discontent for feeling like they're stuck and like nothing's happening and nothing's moving forward. And you know, what I keep seeing in that was, you know, learn to be comfortable in these still periods that like to me, when I look at those, it's the void space, right? And that's where I go right before there's a big shift. And so again, going back to what Herminia said, like if nothing's happened and you're wondering why you're doing this and it just kind of feels still and stuck, I think that there's the opportunity to use that energy to learn to be comfortable in that stillness, learn to be comfortable in your own energy, and then you'll start to see things move. So,
Well, as a recovering pleaser, I've had to do a lot of work around that, right? When instead of getting up and what can I do, for my husband, for what do I have to do? What do I have to do, right? Maybe I just have to be. Maybe I just have to sit still with myself, and it might not be comfortable, but there's a deepening of awareness, I think, that happens when you can do that. Just sit with yourself in that void space with no expectations, with no agenda, just to be and feel the joy of who you are. I think it helps too to reflect on times and places in your life, especially the younger you, where something traumatic might have occurred, and that's a stumbling block that one of us keeps tripping over. You know what I mean? It's like if we're holding that in our energy field, maybe you just back up and expand your space so that part of you can come to the surface and be heard and seen like they weren't in that time period.
Yesterday I had in the course that I'm following, we are having twice per quarter, trimester that we're doing. We're having a tutor call, a one-on-one call. And so yesterday I had mine. And so the course is about the diploma for spiritual coaching, which is like just coaching and so how to be spiritual. But I know, you breathe with spiritual, right? But I just want to develop a few things there. And we had a very interesting talk, and since I started the course, it is all about, coming to stillness, doing a spiritual practice, whatever that is. If you sit down and you have a cup of coffee for 20 minutes and you don't do anything and you don't think, that could be your spiritual practice if you want it to be like that. And we also started now to do at least once per day a self-reflecting practice where you only ask yourself, how am I today? What have I done today? How was it today for me? What happened in a sense? And so I am even falling off my tree because I started journaling. I'm just writing. And I said to her, I said, this course made me start journaling, which is something that I couldn't never do. And I was always like, I cannot do it. And I have no reason why I never did it. I said, I just started writing and I wrote, this morning I got up and then I did this and this and that. I said, it's not Dear Diary, but it's just like so that I start writing, right? And then suddenly I just switched, my mind just switched to something else. And then I write something more deeper thinking, whatever, you know, like a reflection. And not analyzing it at all, just writing it down. I'm not even rereading it. I'm just writing it down. And then sometimes I doodle a thingy or whatever, and then I close it and it's done. So since I'm doing that, it does me a lot of good. And also within the self-reflection, because we had to submit already one of our assessments, and she assessed it and she said it's probably everybody's going to pass, but you just still have to go through emotions and do the stuff. And it was a little booklet that we had to fill out. And I told her, I said, listen, at first I thought I'm going to fill out this book like the pleaser I am, you know, and the good student I was. You know, the good student, you're going to get the star, you know, there. Yeah, I have it. Or the little sticker, you know, the little smiley sticker, whatever. And I was like, no, you're kidding yourself by doing that, right? You're kidding yourself. That's not the whole thing. It's about just go through the motions and read what is there. The question is, how do you feel? How do you reflect? How do you connect spiritually? How do you, so just don't write what somebody else wants to hear or you think that somebody else wants to hear. It's not about that. It's what do you for yourself think it is. So write that down. And I told Elaine yesterday, I said, you know, and then I just stopped and I redid the whole thing. That's why I submitted a little, I didn't submit late, but just the other day that I submitted it. And she said it was actually quite funny reading your self-reflection on that, what you actually do to connect in a sense. And then I also said, listen, and also within the group, I have noticed that the people that are participating, I can find myself in each of them. There is the entertainer, there's the witch, there's the one who's always afraid. It's not me, but it's a part of me, right? There's always the one who's like always saying sorry for something that is whatever, you know? And I'm like, I look at all those and I'm like, it's like all the soul charts are sitting there right in front of me. I don't need to be neither the leader. I don't need to be the entertainer. I just need to be there. I just need to listen. And I just need to be whatever I am going to be in this course. I have no idea yet, but I'm just letting it flow. I said, and that for me took a lot of things off me in a sense, right? Because I'm like, I don't have to be that. I don't have to be the funny one. I don't have to lead the course because I'm not the course leader. I don't have to take, you know, the first, it's me, I'm going to answer the question. I don't have to do that because nobody's asking you to do that. And that realization took just another load of me in a sense, right? So, and there are so many things coming up now, taking that load off. I don't have to. There is no have to, you know. What do I have to do, you know? I just sit here, enjoy myself now, sharing with you and having a good chat, you know? So that is what I have to do right now and feeling good about it.
Love it.
Now we're just all sitting in the silence, and I was the one who talked. So that need, you know, that silent space is an important space, you know, and of course we're zooming today of you know, recording this and putting it out, but I think that's how you know that you're comfortable, right? You don't feel like you have to say anything. Don't feel like you have to do anything or go anywhere, you know, just like being in that space, that wonderful, juicy space of the heart, the mind, the body, all together, like that makes up you.
I also think it's a beautiful invitation that still point, that quietness is a beautiful invitation to actually acknowledge how much we create outside of the five senses. Because us now having this moment of saying nothing created so much. Could you feel that? And we can't necessarily, or we don't need to necessarily point out what that is. But we can just trust that, talking about movement, we can sit completely still, and yet everything is in flux. Everything is moving already. We can trust, begin to trust our inner nature, our technology. It's all there. There literally is nothing that we need to do if we're not inspired by our joy to do it. And I think those moments, or those where we question ourselves, we're not doing enough, that's exactly what we need in order to start understanding that we're doing so much more. We are almost limiting ourselves by continuously talking, seeing, looking outside of ourselves, trying to smell, to taste, because that's only five senses. That's a distraction. Our five senses become the distraction, the limitation. Because there are, I wouldn't say millions, but thousands more of those senses that are needing to switch on. And I think that stillness is giving us an opportunity to start perceiving those.
So may I jump in and say a bit? I'm not sure what the question that Herminia asked. I was still trying to figure because it was the same time that I sort of came in. But there's a couple of things that you all mentioned, and one was hermit mode, and I think one was the void space, and I think somebody else talked about getting brutal about it at times, and what I'm feeling right now that I can share with you is that I'm just happy being in the void space where I don't have to do anything or go after anything. I'm just happy. I'm just glad to be in that space where nothing is rushing me along. I don't want to be rushed along. I feel like throughout our whole lives we're being rushed along. We got to get this done. We got to get that done. This got to be done by a certain hour in the day. This got to be done by a certain time in the month or whatever. And so you're always being pushed and rushed. And I'm just so happy just to be here in this void space of like, do what I want when I want. And please don't rush me because I'm just happy to be here and to enjoy my environment around me and the changing of the seasons and all those beautiful things. And I just want to share some that I found funny just a few days ago. I was in the supermarket and I met this one lady whom I've known for a number of years now. And she said to me, "So how are you?" And automatically what came out of my mouth was that I'm just I'm perfect. Everything is wonderful. There's nothing to complain about. And so life is good. And I could see she's looking at me in this, what the hell is she talking about? Face, right? And I don't know where the words came from, but it was what I needed to say in that moment to her because I've known her for a number of years and I kind of get a sense of how she thinks. And so this answer that I gave to her was so automatic, but yet still it was beautiful what I said, and I could see the questioning in her face. It's like, huh? What are you talking about? Why are you saying that? That doesn't make sense to me. And after I said it, I realized what I said. And I thought it was pretty funny to me that this was the expression, you know. It's I'm just pleased to just be in this space where I make the determination what I should be doing next. And when I feel like I've had enough of one moment in within the hour, I can always go outside and do something. And now that the season is changing, there's so much outdoor chores to do. There's thousands of leaves to rake and take care of. And yesterday I was doing some of that, and I felt so happy just doing this menial task. Um, and I felt so grounded just being out there, just doing this. And I wanted to continue to do it all day long. But of course, at some point I had to stop doing that and get on with other chores of the day. Like you said, Tanya, you got to take care of the house, you got to take care of the meals, you got to take care of the laundry and every other thing that you do during the day to make your home comfortable. But it was something that I felt I wish I could just continue to do without having to go back to do the regular chores. I just wanted to continue to do that. But of course, you got to balance everything. But I'm just happy just being in void space most of the times these days. And that's something I'm so grateful for at this time. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Love that, Lana.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Sounds like following your joy. Following your joy. I like it.
But what else is there to follow?
Good.
You stay on the positive side, you follow your joy.
Exactly.
Now that you mentioned, you know, that I remember I went back to read the prophecy, the Celestine prophecy, because I felt I need to go back to connect with nature. Now in the fall, all the leaves change the color and the environment is so beautiful. For me to be able to go pour up my joys, because I noticed a couple of weeks that I was gone for some reason. And I went back to and start reading the book again to be able to put myself back in that position.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, I feel like we've done so much learning throughout our whole life and other lifetimes that we should be at a point now where there's really not a need to go after going back to those things, but to be in this space now and looking forward, like what else can I accomplish? And not necessarily accomplish is not the right word, but what else would I be experiencing that I don't have to go backwards to ground myself, but to be in the present moment and ground whatever is in front of me right now, and the space that I have that surrounds me that I can take advantage of and be grounded now. Because we've done so much learning in the past. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or am I explaining myself well enough that you understand what I'm trying to say?
Very well. Very well. What comes up as you're speaking is, you know, we talk a lot about holding space for other people, right? Instead of holding hands, we're holding space. And I think there's much more to that. And I think what Lana, your example, has just sort of made me think of what you're doing is you're holding space. Literally, you're holding space, what we consider as space in this reality. You're holding it together through the joy of doing human things.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
So that holding space for ourselves, but there's so much more to that, because you know the reality is a simulation, and this is a consciousness evolution revolution. So we have, in order to keep the reality going, we have to literally hold the space together, because we are like the conduit, right, of energy. And with the level of consciousness, self-reflection, and the non-judgment, and the openness to experiencing more and more, it all comes down to holding space, right? Because everything else is there for us to create. And it's almost like automatically coming through now, because we are connecting more to our souls. We're connecting more to the mission, to the purpose. So all we really have to do here is hold space. So a redefinition of holding space, that was just beautifully, explained, or a beautiful example. Just hold space. And also, I think, the more still we become, the stiller we become, the more that space can literally form around us and create a dynamic, right? Because there has to be a still point that draws the sphere around us. Because if we're not still, it can't create that sphere, that toroidal field we were talking about last week. So this is the anchor. It's like an holding space is becoming that anchor for the space and for everything to rearrange itself around us. That's what I start feeling as
It's like anchoring your space where you live. And then if we are all anchoring where we live, and others are doing the same thing, as they get to a certain point in their frequency, we're all anchoring a lot of space, holding space on earth, in the earth. And so that by doing that, we are standing as an example for others to follow. And somebody was mentioning something about standing upon the shoulders of others. I don't remember. Someone said that. So it's like, if we hold the space, then others can come and stand on our shoulder, but not physically, or it's just like an idea. Being like the pioneer in front, and they can join that, and we become like a chain. Eventually, we're all joining links, one to the other, until the earth is so completely filled with that new vibrating light of a new frequency all over.
In the course, they refer also to this holding space as being the benevolent presence. So you're doing it, benevolently. If you don't want to do it, you just, you close yourself off, right? But you're doing the benevolent presence by holding this space. They sometimes refer to it as sitting in hara, but I find that already too much Buddhistic, Eastern oriented. So the benevolent present and the self-reflection is also around this. The exercises around this. How are you? How have you been a benevolent present today? No, actually not, because I have been shouting at everyone who was driving like an idiot today. But but then I was very happy when I received just a parking space right in front of the, when I thought I couldn't find one and there was one, and I said, thank you.
When Martina
so it was just to throw in the benevolent presence, because I think that's also a nice way of putting, of not only holding the space, but being present in that space as well.
When Martina was talking about holding space, that brought me back to like the earlier teachings about emanating, right? That we needed, that the challenge was evolving from emulating to emanating. And I could see that, like as Martina was talking about, that we are, that holding space is emanating the frequency that we hold now, so that other people like that will lift the people around us. And you know, the imagery that I get when, you know, Lana talks about, you know, holding that space around us and how that influences everybody, as our spheres start to overlap, like we create the Vesica Pisces, right? And the overlap of the Vesica Pisces, to me, is like, that's the portal of creation. Lana described it as linking a chain, but I would describe it as the Vesica Pisces. And I think there's a lot of potency in that.
Well, it's powerful because we become a vortex, become literally a vortex. And this is where I think it's important to look at unified physics now, because they're understanding that we are a black hole, right? And it's not that vortex doesn't make people disappear in the black hole. There's no such thing as disappearing in a black hole. Like the entire jargon, and there's a lot of use of the black hole at the moment in the collective consciousness, in politics. You hear the whole time people disappearing in a black hole, la la la, there's all this, because it's actually really not the case. We are drawing, you know, we're creating a gravitational field for other people to connect to that vortex, to that powerful dynamic, which is infinite possibility. The black hole, we call it void, but actually that's where the infinite possibilities are. And that's potent, powerful.
As Lana was speaking, I was seeing in my mind's eye a picture of an atom, right? Where you have the protons and the neutrons that form the nucleus of the cell, and then you have the electrons, right, that spin around that center, right, which is made of two things, the protons and the neutrons, depending upon which atomic structure you're looking at. But you know, the macrocosm is the microcosm, right? So when we're looking at things on a cellular level like that, then we can back up and back up and see, you know, how we as humans work like that also, where when we're holding that nucleus, you know, the way that we're describing it is holding space, but then you're holding that space for yourself, but also with that benevolent presence, allowing to expand into that energy, that now you're engaging the electricity of that presence, right? And that works to draw things in or push things away, depending upon what the resonating frequency is.
Yeah.
So
and also not forgetting that there is actually something like you mentioned, you know, you mentioning the black holes, but then there's also the whole talk about void and vacuum. And just like Nassim, the one that you shared, I listened to that one, and he just reminded me, and it's true, there is no void, there is no nothingness, you know, there is always something in there, whatever it is. It can be infinitesimally small, but there is always something. So there is no void in a sense. So even in your stillness, and you go and you center yourself within, that's not creating neither a void nor a vacuum, because you're not empty. Nobody is, you know, there is always something.
I mean, that's why he says in every proton in the nuclear, and he just brought a paper out that confirms that now, that he's done all the, what do you call it?
Gravitation.
Yeah.
calculations.
The calculations.
And stuff like that. In every proton in the nucleus is a black hole. And that measures exactly to the universe. So there are universes within every single atom, proton, quark. He's down to the Planck scale now. So tiny units, the tiniest units that we've arrived now, that contains all the universal information.
And energy. It holds more energy than anything that is we are producing currently.
Yeah. So we are powerhouses. That's the mitochondria, right? Batteries. But of course, you know, this has been probably not really been allowed to be proven until now, because I mean that
You can't pay for it,
right?
You can't invoice it.
Free energy, it questions everything. But we're getting there, and this is where it is so exciting. So exciting to learn about that, you know, to unified physics. I think what he talks about, that so much information, I can't really recall all of that, but I can perceive it, I can feel it, you know. And now it's just a matter of, we don't even have to connect to the cosmos anymore. We just connect inside. I'm now understanding what connecting inside actually means, because, you know, understanding now the equation, not understanding the equations obviously, but just the way he puts it forward, it makes a difference. It makes a difference in understanding or feeling, or it just opens a different level of awareness that allows you to perceive it in a different way, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, and talking about, Jen was talking about the concept of the hologram earlier, like what are you bringing into your hologram? But the way the hologram works, if you have a hologram, cut it, and you have two of the same, and you cut it again, and then you have four of the same, right? So that macrocosm being the microcosm, it doesn't matter how infinitesimally small you get or extremely large. You know, talking about those aspects of the human body that we talked about last week, you know, the things that make us extraordinary humans. One of those was being able to shrink to the size of an atom, you know, like Ant-Man. Except you don't need a suit for that. Or make yourself very expansive and large, right? And you're still you. You still have, you know, your direct connection to that radiant heart of creation. You know, you're always plugged into that. That doesn't ever go away.
Every
Just
cell
because
and
you may
every
not
atom.
remember how to use it now doesn't mean you don't know how to use it.
When you say it like that, Tanya, I always go back to thinking of the TARDIS from Doctor Who, where the outside is small, but the inside is very large. There's so much going on the inside, and there's so much space on the inside, but the outside, it looks just like a, you know, a telephone booth, a police box, whatever.
Or just the last sequence of Man in Black, you know, when, you know, our universe becomes so small, and it is in one of the marbles, and, you know, one of the aliens is playing actually with the marble, where our universe is being held inside. I always imagined like that when I was a kid. Honestly, when I saw that in Man in Black, I was like, who stole my idea?
I knew it.
I was like, yeah.
Maybe some alien is playing with us.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like a marble.
Sure.
We are their marble. Just rolling us around.
Great blue and green orb.
Some big giant hand out there, you know, just rolling us around, you know.
Yeah.
So if we are universes living in a universe, are we all universes within ourselves? We have those universal information and everything. So if we go into a bit of a funk, what are we telling the universe? As we, you know, coming from, you know, the premises that we create our reality. our holographic stimulation, which is super fucking real, you know? Nobody's taking that away. It's holographic, it's a simulation, and it is real.
Ask your question in a different way.
So if we're creating our own reality, and if we have not an understanding of that we embody the universe within us, and if we have a negative self-talk, even like, you know, talking to our bodies, like, oh, you're too fat, you're this, you're that, you know, judging ourselves and, you know, going down the limiting route of not being deserving and not having a certain value and everything. And if everything is a reflection of what's happening within our universes here, what are we telling the universe that we want to create?
Are you talking about you're being a universe within yourself?
Yes.
But you're saying, what are we telling the universe? Are we talking about our own self again, or are we talking about the universe
there's
that
no
surrounds our universe?
Yeah, well, there's no distinction. Remember, we are all one. We are
Yes, I understand that. I'm just trying to understand the question. You're saying what do we tell the universe? Which universe? Your own universe or the universe that surrounds your universe?
Okay, so let's forget the universe. Look at it from a reflection perspective. Everything within ourselves, our thinking, our thoughts, our self-talk creates our reality. So what are
So
we
I guess when we're not feeling good about ourselves,
what are we creating?
right? So that resonant frequency is showing up, will show up in the world around us and reflect back.
Exactly. Because you're putting
So
out
if
this
we're
negative frequency.
if the thought process is I'm a victim, right? There's going to be situations that show up to prove that.
Yes. So whatever happens outside of ourselves now, because I mean, we are not living on our own, we're living in a collective consciousness. So, you know, whilst we can create our own reality, we're still sort of looking and observing, or every single one of us creates their own realities, right? So every single one creates a different reality depending on their belief system, on their habitual patterns, on their, you know, past lives and all of that. So it is our job, the only job right now, is to stay in our joy. In order and not buy into the wars, that's not taking the war, making them wrong. That's not saying it's not happening because it's a simulation, it's not true. This is all happening because every single one of us is creating their reality. But this is where we're going back to what is your focus, what is your perspective? What is it, which train are you on? Which timeline do you want to be on? What do you want to see in your reflection? What do you want you to create out to be reflected back to you? And there's obviously another question. This is an old sort of, you know, we all know that anyway, but I think it's a good one to remember that now, you know, because it's getting more and more important as we're going into the oneness, understanding of the oneness. We've always been there, but now it's the responsibility of what we are creating is becoming, I think, more important.
So I just posted this cartoon in the chat, and I'll post when we post the link, but it's one that I've been thinking of since we've been talking about perspective, where there's two guys riding the bus. One, they're riding up a mountain, up a cliffside. One guy is looking out into the shadow on the cliffside, and the other guy is looking into the expansive horizon, and the sun is setting. So he's got a big smile on his face, and the guy looking at the wall has a big frown on his face. So they're on the same bus. He could easily turn his head and look the other way. But his view of reality is the shadow, right? Where the other guy's view of reality is the lightness, the joy. So again, it's a matter of perspective. If we're not feeling good about our life, if things aren't going well, maybe we just need to change our direction of looking at things, to back up and get a wider perspective.
Like finding the beauty in the little things, right? The sunrise, the sunset, watching the bugs flitter around in the grass. Like, pay attention to the little things and appreciate the beauty that is in everyday life over the noise on TV and social media and people squabbling.
And there's a lot of noise.
Not when you learn to turn it off, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're paying attention to it, yes, it is prevalent.
And it's also the bias of it, the judgment of it throws us into resistance. So we mustn't resist it. It's there, It's like what you just showed us. Yeah, the one side looks brighter than the other maybe, but then we're not here to get rid of the less bright side, because that holds the harmony on this planet. That's absolutely fine. So we keep it there, but we don't have to keep looking at it. We can just choose to sit on the other side where the sun shines, right?
Yeah, exactly. Choice. A choice of that.
Yeah, it's just a choice. Yeah.
When you caught yourself already in this spiral of, I see it with the two elderly people that I'm currently at home with. I mean, the bickering, it's like, stop doing that. I have to stop them sometimes. And I stop now. Don't talk like that. Because just, look at it from the other side. And then it's like, why did you stop us in our bickering? Because we just wanted, spiral it out and down and down and down and then go wherever, And I'm like, just stop that. It's okay, look at it from the other side, and then maybe, oh, okay. But then they just shut up for like 5 minutes, and then they go into their room, and then they continue bickering there without me hearing it, although this house is half made out of wood. But okay, fine. You're in the other room. I don't hear you anymore.
Well, I mean,
no, but and for me, it's the same. Sometimes when I'm in this funk of, I'm like, no, just, okay, get out of the funk. It's okay. Just take a deep breath, listen to the birds, look at something funny, or, or look at something that could make you bring a smile to your face, or just smile like that for no reason at all. That helps already, getting a little bit of serotonin back into your system.
I think too, asking the question, why? Why am I feeling this way? Right. And going into that deeper reflection allows you to get out of it too. I mean, not that there needs to be a solution, and just thinking about like witnessing our parents, right? Maybe like, I don't know about your parents, Sandrine. My parents have been married, in 2025, it will be 55 years. So they've been together for a long time and created a lot of habit patterns, that maybe started in old energy that's not present anymore. Yet the habit pattern, i.e. bickering, remains. So when did that start? I don't know if you've noticed it since you're a kid. When did that start, and how how is that old energy playing now in the present? You know, keeping all kinds of old energy can keep us stuck in loops, you know, where we're just running on the program, right? We're running on the history of the tradition, the grand old tradition of bickering. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's interesting to witness that,
You
you know,
make me think
especially
about
as a, go ahead.
you make me think about something as you're saying about the bickering between two a couple that's been in a relationship for 50, 60 years of marriage, and they bicker with each other all the time. And I'm thinking of a specific elderly couple that I know at the moment, and they have that bickering between each other, especially the gentleman towards his wife. You know, he'll constantly pick on something, and then they'll get into this um you know situation that they and it feels like to me they're feeding off of each other all the time, and that loop, it goes around and around and around. And if you think about it, what you notice about them now is that because they've been feeding off of each other's energy for so long, they fall into the trap of illness, and they can't heal out of that illness. Physical illness has taken over, and they're getting to the point where it's continuing that the illness is getting worse and worse to the point where they're not able to recover from any of their illnesses. And I think that's a bad trap to fall into, because they're at the point where they can't be helped in any medical way, you know? And I never thought about that before, but now that you brought it up, it just came into my mind, because they don't have any energy coming from the source back to them, because they're not in that connection point, because they're in the negative for so long. The energy that they're getting is from each other only. And they struggle along over the years, and so they're falling into that trap where it's hard to help them to recover. Does that make sense? Have you seen people like that where they're just strangling each other in a sense, energetically?
Yeah, lots of times.
That's what sickness is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're strangling each other.
Yeah. And the thing is, they could change that like this, but they don't know that they have a choice.
Or
Is
they
it-
don't know how to change themselves.
Well, it's
And
a choice.
yeah, it's a choice, yes,
But that's the
because
thing. People
they
don't
wouldn't
know.
take any advice from outside either to make
Exactly.
that choice.
Yeah. But then again, you know, who are we to say that that's not what their soul has chosen and they are totally on mission? Because they're holding space for the others who are going through the enlightenment process, because that's what they needed to do. And this makes this whole thing so funny, really. As soon as we have a point of view about something, like, really? Who made you the creator for others? How do you know what their soul agreements are, right?
Yeah, why are we judging?
But do you know what? You didn't judge. You had
My observation.
an observation,
Yeah.
you know, and it's perfect to do that, because then you can reference it back to you and say, okay, am I still doing this something? Am I still doing this with myself? Are there still points where I am doing that? And it doesn't even have to be that you've been doing it in this lifetime so much. But now, with the veil lifting, we are living all the reincarnations at the same time. So sometimes something pops up, which was, I don't know, in the 13th century, all of a sudden. It's like, oh, where the hell did you come from? Because you just started talking to that soul shard, because you started sort of, for whatever reason, a co-creation, and it needed to come in. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's on the positive side, you know, all of a sudden you start having, you know, I don't know, gifts that you didn't know that you have, but also it comes with the crap as well at times. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Where's that coming from? And this is where curiosity is, you know, joy for analysis, to look at it, have that communication, that conversation with your shards, line them up in the front, you know, and say, okay, what's going on here? How can we change that? Because, and again, that's like, it really, I remember in the Access days when, you know, it was like, oh, it's just a choice. I'm like, for fuck's sakes, it's not just a choice, you know? It's a habitual pattern that's been going on over lifetimes. You can't do this. No, it's a choice. It's really just a choice. As soon as you become aware of something, it's changed. Awareness is change. You become aware of a habit pattern. It doesn't matter how long you've had it. I do no longer buy into, oh, it has to be run for 28 days or 21 days, or, you know, repetition leads to illumination. I think that's crap. I think that used to work, but no longer. You're a fucking black hole, right? Things have changed because our levels of, and the problem is, if we still go back to the old tools, we put ourselves back into the old box. We're no longer in the box, or jumped into another box. So every time we start using old tools, we are not acknowledging how far we've come, and we're immediately going into limitation. So we can't do that anymore. And that's why it's so important to acknowledge stuff. That's why it's so important to have conversations like we're having. Because you need people you resonate with, who can actually understand what you're saying. And I speak for myself, I do not have many people I can speak to like that in my local vicinity. And that's why I'm so, so grateful to have you guys to play with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because this is why I also put out this total brainchild, the Academy of the Three Dots. It was just in my head. I mean, I have been talking with Martina about a few things about, we need an academy, you know, where you can have laboratories and you just experience stuff, you know, just to put it in a more structured way, in a sense, right? And I was like, we need this academy. And then I was sitting here and I was like, okay, let's just create it. So the intention is to create this academy. Now it's there. I just wrote it down. I said, okay, I need to write it down. I wrote it out and I said, okay, now it's instated. Let's play.
Exactly.
Right? And it's a brainchild, but you know, it lives in my brain now, and it will come, and it's out there. I put it out there because I said I need to put it out there. Now I'm going to create probably content around it a little bit. You see, it's just to play around with the idea and have. Yesterday, I wrote a WhatsApp message to Martina, and I called it, the first order of erudition is to dilly-daddling. You know, just don't do anything. Just sit there, take a hot cup of whatever, you know, and just look into nothingness.
Yeah.
But you know, this is where this whole imagination thing is just where and again, where I'm really also happy to have you guys, because I know there is a resonance. There will be a resonance because you put a smile on your face and you're like, yeah, it's fun. And some other might think, you know, whatever that should mean or will be or whatever, who knows, you know, but now it's there. Let's play with it, you know.
And you know what? We keep choosing it.
Mm.
Right? 4th year, we keep choosing it. and none of us is attached to it. So we did a recording last week, and because my email is not working at the moment, I lost the recording. I don't think any of us was like distraught. Oh my God, I said all these amazing things now and it's all gone and we haven't, nobody's going. No, because we had so much fun talking about it, right? Even if we never record anything, I think we still get together and just have a chat, right? So there is no attachment to the outcome. There's no expectation. Who is saying what? We've let go of that guru teacher syndrome a long time ago. Well, we never even started it. We just came together as weavers, sharers, and just playing, really. And I personally, I always go away. I look forward to that every week. And I go away and I'm like, whoa, we're talking for 2 hours every time without really knowing what we're going to talk about, right? And I think we make a lot of sense in that nonsensical way of getting together, right? And I feel when I walk away, I feel like, oh, I could go on for another 2 hours, 3 hours. It doesn't drain my energy. It doesn't deplete me in any way. And I'm never worried if anyone comes up or not, because we keep choosing it. And I think, you know what? Let's keep choosing it until we no longer choose it. Yeah.
Sounds great.
That sounds good.
That sounds
Oh,
really
I'm
good.
in.
And on that note, I'm gonna leave you here because I'm going to prep for my course.
Better
Bye,
do-
girls.
Bye,
See you next week.
Sandrine.
Bye.
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 I'm looking at Jan's dog, Roscoe, and he's just in his void space.
Yeah. Roscoe likes vacation. I think he's a little homesick, but like he has no anxiety. I think because I haven't left him, like at home. I leave him to go to work and to run errands and things like that. And here he's just they're talking about you. Hey, yeah, he doesn't care.
There
Hi,
you go.
buddy.
Yeah, I say hi to you.
Hi, Roscoe.
And as he's sitting and contemplating the void space, the nothingness, he's just seeing himself.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
He feels good about himself.
Back to
Big
sleep.
sigh.
He's also probably picking up your calmness because you are on holiday, right? Sounds like you're in a beautiful space where there's not a lot going on around you, right? Because I mean, cats, dogs, animals, they pick up the energies from their environment. I see it with my 2 cats since I've been doing this redecorating for 2.5 weeks now. They are stressed to the hilt. The one in particular, she's like meowing the whole time because she can't sit in her normal place. There are too many people in the house. There's too much mess. She's, it stresses her out. She pisses everywhere she can. Milo is the other guy. He just disappears, doesn't even come home. And I'm like, okay, you're doing the right thing. Get on the other side of the train. Where she's like, nah, she's so tense. It's funny how, they show us, animals show us a part of ourselves as well.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
As we're all sitting in this quiet void space today, allowing for the cosmos energy to come through and our truth to come through and our alignment to the all. Yeah, it just feels good.
Yeah.
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 We're just floating. But grounded floating. This is grounded floating. I feel totally grounded, right? I think it's that that stillness is probably, like the cross, you know, in the middle, the dot, where you're stable. It's like between the contraction and the expansion, and you're right in the middle, where everything is possible. Oh, black hole. That's where we are. That's who we are. I love this black hole business. Really understanding the black hole better. I think it's gonna, the next couple of months, years are gonna be such an amazing explosion of new possibilities that we are becoming aware of. And I think that space holding, that letting go of the ego without dissolving the ego, because we need the ego, yeah, obviously. But letting go, I think that surrender is also, we talked about this last time, that continuous surrender, and out creation has always been our thing, right? But it's getting to a different level of out creation. It's like, okay, letting all this go, next, letting it go, next, letting it go. And the more we let go, the more we.
I think too, the more we let go, the more we become ourselves.
Yeah.
Just standing in that place of you know, like, I don't know, self-knowingness and self-love and like that allowing. I think we get in I can get in a space where I have a to-do list a mile long, right? Instead of just sitting quietly, all of those, things. And there's, for me, there's always a mindfulness, like Lana was talking about sweeping the leaves and being just perfectly contented to be doing that work. There's a joy in that living, of doing your laundry and folding the sheets so they can fit properly in the cabinet. There's a joy for me for that. It's, maybe it's a little OCD. That's okay. I mean, what does that mean anyway? But I like doing things that take care of me, take care of my house and my family.
Well, you're holding space for yourself and for your house and for your family. And at the same time, you are creating yourself, your house, your family, remember? Because it's a hologram. So we have to maintain the hologram through mindful creation, through mindful focus, otherwise it would disappear. I mean, remember when you leave your house, and you'll see, Jennifer, when you come home, your house will be a different house because nobody's been in there. Or God knows who was in there, right? All the ghosts and everything. So, it's for me, sometimes when I go away, I sometimes, as soon as I arrive at the airport, I just, I project myself into the house to say, okay, I'm coming back. So da, da, da. And that makes a difference. It doesn't take long, but the house almost, misses you because of the potent sine wave, potent, vortex that you are. It's fascinating how this stuff works.
I went to Nashville for a conference last week, and on my way home, I got this image of like me in my house, and it was dark outside, so like the windows were glowing, and I just made my cup of tea, and I could feel like the words that came to me was like, the witch is coming home, right? And like the white witch in her house with her cup of tea, and how much like my land loves me, and going outside after dark to drink my cup of tea, and how that made the trees happy. And like I felt that energy, that vortex of me in my home on my land doing a very little something that brings me joy, and like how that ripples out. And like that piece was like integral to how the whole universe was balanced by my energy being there. Yeah.
Very true. Because if you balance the cells within you that carry the universal information, you automatically, balance the universe.
That
Yeah.
image just was funny out of the blue.
Say again?
That image was really funny to come out of the blue. I was just driving home from Nashville and that just popped in.
Amazing. But this is what we do. That's bilocation. Projecting your consciousness into, so these images, I think it's a form of bilocation, but I think those images are really important to take serious, but to acknowledge them, to write them down, because I mean, that is the psionic skills that we also talked about last week, that our skills in our, higher levels of consciousness that goes beyond the seeing, the smelling, the, hearing and all that.
I think that David Icke was talking about in his book, The Trap, that if you're seeing things only through your five senses, you're totally missing the point. You're missing that this is a projected hologram, that you're always going to be caught in that projection unless you back up and use those other senses, more than five.
And it's really frustrating, because I got caught in this because I want to see, I want to see these beings and I want to see, and why are they not right here in front of me, because I didn't understand. I needed that information that's a limited, okay, we all know about intuition, but how do we define the sixth sense? There wasn't enough. And now as we're moving into those higher levels of awareness, so much more becomes available to us, and sometimes it's just, we don't have to listen to a million podcasts, because it gets fewer and fewer that you resonate with anyway. Yeah, as you say, Jen, you might start one thing because you used to like them, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, no, can't listen to that anymore, not in a judgmental way. It's like, okay, no, that's outdated. But for instance, Bashar, I never used to, never. And Bashar's been around for bloody 40 years, right? And he's not that, he's saying something that, I didn't, the stuff that he's bringing out now has a totally different frequency than what he used to. Or maybe it's just me all of a sudden being, because I never listened to him before, but now I do more if something comes up, because there's always a little thing that he just puts it in a slightly different way, It's like what I said today is like habit. I have to say, before I listened to what he said, habit is just can be changed right like this. Doesn't matter how long you've had the habit. The only thing you got to ask is it a habit, or is it a choice? And why I'm not choosing it. But no, because I used to be in this self-healing mode and self-development mode, looking at all the old patterns and why have I created them and how did I uncreate them. So there was this element of, linearity in it, how long you've had that pattern and now it takes you that long to uncreate it again. But we have to take into consideration that we're living on a completely different planet. Because it's not just us changing, it's the world changing. And before we close, I actually want to say something, because I heard this today. Remember we talked about this, people were saying Gaia is leaving, the planet is leaving, and we didn't really know what to do with that, or I didn't know what to do with that when I heard that. What does that mean? And now I can actually appreciate that, because we are the planet. We are nature, because there is no distinction between, it's just a hologram. It's just, everything is just one thing. So we are nature. We are the planet. And we're not even leaving, or the planet is not leaving. We're just expanding our levels of consciousness that allows us to expand out into the other so-called places in the universe. So Gaia is leaving because we are leaving, not physically, but we are expanding. And this is where that space, that small space that we worked with is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that almost, it could be considered as a leaving, because literally we're leaving that lower level frequency, that smaller awareness behind. But it's not a physical thing, like nothing is a physical thing, really. So it's just a consciousness projection. You know, so this is what my head is trying to get around. It's not the head gets it, but now it's like, okay, so how does this feel? You know, I want to have this experience now, that kind of thing. So I'm always taken back to that oneness principle now.
Mm.
Yeah, we're actually one with everything. That's why the reflection is coming back again, but on a different level now, on a grander, universal level.
Yeah, I think that's maybe, coming back to things that you haven't listened to in the past.
Mm.
There's wisdom there, right? When you're guided to connect with something, there's going to be wisdom there for you. And you maybe not going to know what that is until maybe even months later, and you go, oh, yeah, that's what that thing was about. I get it now.
Yes, so much so when he just says, he said the other day that this is not a philosophy. And I've always prided, was always like, okay, yeah, I'm a philosopher. I like philosophy. I like all these different, ideas and la la la. But he says, no, it's not philosophy. It's actually the way it is. I just tell you the way it is because I'm living in this multidimensional place. I can see, feel, perceive it, and it works so well with what Hussein is saying, because he says once we have an equation for the plasma, for the black hole and everything, then all of a sudden it becomes real. Otherwise, it's just a philosophy. And it's so true. That difference between what is a philosophy, what is happening in your head, and what is real, that it becomes tangible. It becomes physical. And that's what physics are. Physics is physical. And that's why we need people like Hussein Harriman, because he now calculates it. And for some reason, it's starting to make sense for people. Even if you don't understand his, because he is one of the few people who looks at unified physics, science, and spirituality, because he understands all of that. He's been a breatharian for 3 years, he said. Just slipped that in the other day. I've been a breatharian for 3 years. Of course, yeah, why not? I'm like, wow, amazing. Or then I look at Issa. Yeah, the one I've sent you, Issa, just Issa. Look at her YouTube or Facebook. I mean, this girl just, I love her. She just remembers. And she comes out with this highly convoluted ideas that match. And she has these conversations with people. And she doesn't have more views than we have. It's just the same because she's a new kid on the block. But, whatever she says, it comes from her. She doesn't quote anyone else. Now she's starting to talk to just because she needs someone to confirm to her what she knows. That's beautiful. Such an inspiration to really tap into your own wisdom. Then again, I mean, that's the choice she's made. She's lived in bloody, Egypt for a couple of years, lived in all these, funky places. It's a choice. If we'd be doing that, we could probably do that too. Right? Going to all these amazing sites and again, there's no hierarchy, there's no competition. It's not about, that's her job, that's her mission. That's why she's, waking up to all of this now.
Well, and each site, that we go to, that land will interact with us as well. and help us bring in the wisdom we need to learn from each place.
Exactly. Then, of course, there's a question, why is never a good question, but for what purpose is better? What's the value of choosing where you're living? What's the value of me choosing to live in London? Because intuitively, that's where I need to be. Yes, I do travel to places, and once I start, I have a spree where I go, and then I know I need to be here right now. Why? I don't know. I just know. Otherwise, I wouldn't be. So it's like that. You just know where you have to be at certain times. Because, again, this goes beyond the five senses, because you're doing so much. Remember the vortex, that powerful, sine wave that you are, that conduit, that beacon of light, all of these things that you're doing by sitting in San Francisco and in Kentucky, right?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Well, yeah, I'm so bad with all this. There's a reason why we are where we are. Herminia, it's not like that you're not doing anything, that you're not moving. No. You're doing so much more than you think you're doing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about driving around, and the way that the land gets cleared by
Totally.
movement of energy, the way that energy lines that have been, created into the sacred geometry system, or, that have been earth lines that have been plugged up. Maybe you need to run that line 4 or 5 times, so that energy can get cleared up, and then something gets cleared up within you as well.
Absolutely. Do you know what? It always cracks me up when I go into Richmond Park, because you're not allowed to take a nettle or a flower, or maybe, God, you take a mushroom or something, because it's all Queenie King's property, right? Royal property. And every time I walk there, I have this total appreciation from, where have you been? We haven't seen you, the trees and the mushrooms and everything. And I'm like, you know what? I should get paid for walking through this park. Not being, told off when I pick a little flower or something. It's hilarious. But is what it is. It's okay. We're not resisting. We're just dropping into it. We're just enjoying it anyhow. And if a little mushroom pops into my bag, I didn't say that. Just not.
Well, and then those mushrooms and flowers are connecting into your artwork also.
Yeah.
Right. So you're bringing, as you walk through that energy and connect with it, becomes a part of you, a part of your awareness, and then will filter into your life in different ways.
Even though I have to say one thing here, the fungi that I made, that little painting, I made on the weekend when Jennifer had her mushroom journey.
Oh,
I had
okay.
no idea that that's what she was doing. She only told us, and I'm like, oh my God, those mushrooms came through. It just shows us how we are all connected, right?
Mhm.
Beyond words. And, this is just beautiful to be acknowledged. So, yeah.
Well, thanks.
Tina,
Thanks
you're
everyone
reminding me.
for sharing today.
Oh, I was going to say something.
Yeah,
Maybe
say
you-
something.
Okay. Now you're reminding me of when you were talking about going in the garden and you couldn't pick flower or fungus or whatever, a mushroom. One day I was on my walk last week here, and there are all these beautiful flowers. I don't know what the name of the plant is, but they look almost like sunflowers, like miniature sunflowers. And there were like thousands and thousands of them. And as I was walking by, the thought came into my mind, like, can I go and pick a flower and take it with me, or pick a bunch and make a bouquet out of it and take it home? And I'm thinking to myself, I could get into trouble because this is private property, belongs to the local college. What if somebody sees me and says, "Hey, what are you doing? You
Yeah.
can't do that."
Mm.
But there were like thousands and thousands of them. I'm thinking to myself, well, they're going to dry up anyway, you know. Um, I'm not there to destroy the plants or anything like that. They're just growing wild in this field. And I'm like, it would be so nice to just make a bouquet out of it and just take it home with me.
Mm.
But it's probably not a good idea at the same time. I could get myself into trouble because,
But we live in a world full of rules, right?
yeah.
The rules are getting more and more ridiculous every day. But I suppose it's all good because, we need to be pushed into these little corners so that we get all our guts together to stand up one day. And, like AB used to say, we need to get all onto the streets demonstrating. And you know
Mhm.
what? We're getting closer, right? We're getting close.
I've been working on breaking down some of those rules myself because I've always been very, like, I never really had fear, but I would follow the rules, right? I just kind of stayed in my lane. But some of those rules now that feel so foolish, especially if something wants to be taken. Like a lot of times when I go for a walk, like a piece of wood or a gumball or something like that calls for my attention to pick it up to like be included in my fire ceremony. So a lot of when I see things like that where they say you're not supposed to pick the flowers or whatever, but they want to be picked,
Hmm.
then I just remember that I can be invisible when I want to be invisible, and I walk this earth as I please. And as long as I'm not doing harm to anybody, nothing's going to happen to me. And so I've become less of a rule follower and more of a
Rebel.
mm,
It's
Good.
sometimes like when you see little rocks and you want to pick them up and bring them home because they're calling to you, like, pick me up, pick me up.
I do it.
And you're like worried, no, this rock here is in like private space, or it belongs to someone else, or it's in a playground or something like that. And I'm like, do I really can I really pick you up and take you home with me? Or you want to be moved to a different location where you can enjoy the environment of a different spot and not this one here, you know? And sometimes that's what they want. They want to be moved to a different spot so they can enjoy a different surrounding, but then you're like, can I pick it up? Is somebody watching me? you know, if I
I
pick up
do
this
it.
tiny little rock and say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you picking that up?
But that's what we said earlier on, Lana. It's like, the universe is sending you opportunities to get out of the limitation through, having rocks talk to you to pick you up. And then what messages are you sending back to the universe? No, I'm too scared. No, fuck that. If the rock talks to you, you have permission. And as Jennifer says, just, get yourself atom size, make yourself invisible. Like all those beings that live between the atoms in the inner earth. Drop down. Drop down. And you know what? It creates so much joy to do that, to be a little rebel. A rebel. It's so much fun. I call it the trickster. I used to have a rebel that, sorry about that. I used to have a rebel that playing out the rebel wasn't really working in my favor, so I did a lot of damage to myself but it was an unhealed rebel. But now I've got the little trickster. It's turned into a little trickster now. It's giving me little magic tips. So, so I got to follow them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Indeed. Well, cheers to following magic,
Exactly.
right? Well, it's great to catch up with you all today. And
Yes.
I've got to roll out, so I'm going to stop the recording.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anything anyone else wants to say? Any comments or insights?
No, I just want to say thanks, Tanya, for recording because I've got issues with my email at the moment and it's going to go up on your YouTube. So it will be, the replay is available on Tanya's YouTube and you're going to post it in the Earth Nouveau anyway. So thanks for doing it.
Yes.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
everyone.
Well, cheers, y'all.
Bye, everyone.
Lots of love
Thank
to
you so
you.
much.
And
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
we're in a 10-day portal right now that ends next Wednesday. So that portal really allows a lot of energy shifting. So just take advantage of it.
Yes. Good.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.